It's the 411 from the 414, the brand new show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on YouTube. Hey everybody, welcome to the 411 from the 414, all of your wrestling information from my lovely household here in Milwaukee. I'm going to be bringing you guys this show every Wednesday, Friday, Sunday at 3 p.m. Central here on YouTube, but if you want early access to it, if you want to get it earlier than everybody else, you can become one of the patrons over on my Patreon page. The link is in the description of this video right now. You can go check that out. Become a patron for as little as $1 a month. $1 is all it takes to get early access to the 411 from the 414, and no more than $5. I'm capping it. Not going to be some greedy guy out there. $1 gets you early access, $2 and $5. Get you some extra perks as well. So let's move on. Let's talk about the news. Anything that we've got out here today. Got some good stuff too. So let's talk about what we've got for news. Now, the first big thing that I want to talk about is Jimmy Superfly Snuka. For those of you that are unaware, Jimmy Snuka has been in a legal battle since 2015 over his ex-girlfriend's death. Now, according to Cage Side Seats and WFMZ News of Pennsylvania and New Jersey, Jimmy Snuka, the father of Tamina, he's been in a huge legal battle over the murder of his ex-girlfriend, Nancy Argentino. This was reopened in 2015, and the incident itself happened in 1983 on May 10th. The incident itself happened as she left the vehicle, as Snuka says, she left the vehicle to go pee on the side of the road, slipped, fell, hit her head. They made it later on to their hotel room, which is where she ended up dying from the causes of the hit to the head. She, at that point, was it murder? Was it not? No one knows other than Nancy Argentino and Jimmy Snuka. Jimmy Snuka has said the entire time, I'm innocent, I had nothing to do with it, she hit her head. Prosecutors are saying the DA should have opened this thing up and called it manslaughter because he should have taken her to the hospital knowing what the effects of hits to the head do, all that kind of fun stuff. But over the last year or so during this trial, Jimmy Snuka's lawyers have been battling that he is mentally unfit to stand trial. And it's now come out, with court documents being unsealed now that the case has been dropped, that his attorneys have said that Superfly only has 6 months left to live due to the degradation of his state with his dementia. They're saying it's gotten so bad, he doesn't even recognize his wife right now. That's how bad Jimmy Snuka is. During the trial, the prosecutors are saying that it's BS, that it's all an act, that he's acting when he's in the courtroom. That's not how he is when he's outside of the courtroom. But it was enough for the judge, Judge Kelly Bannock, to dismiss the charges in an unscheduled hearing yesterday, and she set the former WWE United States champion and WWE Hall of Famer free, as both the defense and the prosecution way back in August said, hey, if you think he's not going to get better, drop the charges, and that's what she did. For the WWE universe, this is something that we didn't want to have to deal with. It's something that that WWE didn't want to have to deal with either. They scrubbed Chris Benoit completely off of television, former broadcasts, all that kind of stuff. And, they've done a lot of the same on TV with Hulk Hogan, too, with this current controversy with Gawker Media. And we'll get into Hulk Hogan stuff in just a little bit. So it would be a shame if they had to do this for a Hall of Famer, a guy that's been inducted into the Hall of Fame already, and a guy who has been part of so much of the WWE coming into its own. He was ringside for the main event for WrestleMania. It was great. It'd be a shame for them to have to do the same thing to Jimmy Snuka. No one knows what happened back in 1983 that fateful day when Nancy Argentino died, other than Jimmy Snuka and her. But for now, the district attorney is not seeking an appeal of the decision. We'll have to wait and see if anything does come of this. But for now, Jimmy Snuka, free. He's a free man. Now, moving on, we've got a former WWE announcer joining the UFC. For those that don't know, Mike Goldberg had his last match announced when Ronda Rousey got knocked out in 48 seconds at UFC 207. So according to PW Insider, they're saying that the former WWE announcer turned ESPN broadcaster Todd Grisham will debut for the UFC with the next UFC Fight Night broadcast at Fox Sports 1. Grisham's name has been bouncing around a lot lately. He's a guy that's been around as he's potential broadcaster for the MMA flagship. They knew Goldberg was on his way out. They didn't renew his contract. So Grisham's name had been tossed around quite a bit. I've been following this for a while, knowing that I'm not going to get to hear Mike Goldberg anymore doing UFC fights. He's been like the golden voice of UFC for quite some time during a match. Now, Grisham, who is 40, worked for the WWE, if you don't remember, from 2004 to 2011. Had multiple different roles. He was the backstage he was a backstage guy at Raw, much like we've got Renee Young, Dasha Fuentes, Charlie Caruso. Did the interviews backstage with the talent back there. Did a lot of good, hard-hitting ones, too, like asking really tough questions during his time, and I liked that about Todd, so that was cool that we had him back there. He was also an announcer for SmackDown, NXT, Sunday Night Heat, and for WWE's version of ECW. Left the company for ESPN in 2011. He's been hosting Friday Night Fights ever since and working Sports Center as well. Grisham did change his Twitter handle to @GrishamMMA. That's a pretty telling sign right there that the man is moving on to the UFC. And to me, it's good to see guys like Coach, guys like Grisham moving up beyond just the WWE and the announce desk and doing backstage interviewing to prove that they're good broadcasters and they can do a lot more than just announce a wrestling match. So best of luck to Todd Grisham. It's going to be strange not hearing Mike Goldberg during a match, yet it's going to be a familiar voice for all of us that have watched WWE over the years since 2004. In stranger news, and I brought this up, you see it on the crawl at the bottom of the screen right now, WWE made a guy who dresses up at Hulk Hogan at live events switch seats during the Raw in Tampa. And Hulk Hogan had his back. Cage Side Seats is reporting that a fan was removed from the view of the hard cam because he looked too much like Hulk Hogan. Now, every now and then, you see people dressed up like your favorite 80s wrestlers in the crowd. Hulk Hogan is probably the one you see the most. I've seen Ultimate Warriors, Sergeant Slaughters, Jake the Snakes, Jesse Ventura's, among others, at past events. Normally in the front row. Whatever is going on, these guys get front row tickets. They decide it's time to cosplay and be their favorite 80s wrestler, and they're in the front row. So this guy, who on Twitter goes by the name Tie-Dye Guy, was asked to move, according to him, by WWE officials after fans started chanting Hulk Hogan during the matches. You can clearly see him during the Owens-Rollins match from Monday night at Tampa. Tie-Dye Guy commented on Twitter saying, "For all you fans that saw me get moved halfway through the show, it's because WWE officials thought I looked too much like Hulk Hogan." That caught the attention of Hulk Hogan. Tie-Dye Guy did tag him in the tweet. Hulk Hogan chimed in saying, "Sorry about that, my brother. They probably thought you might slam Braun Strowman." It's really interesting because we haven't seen Hulk Hogan on WWE programming or in pictures or in whatever ever since the whole Gawker media scandal surfaced with the now infamous sex tape leak of Hulk Hogan. Even stranger about that is later in the night on Bring It to the Table on the WWE network, they talked about Hulk Hogan, and not only did they talk about him, but everybody agreed that we're going to see Hulk Hogan make a return to the company at some point. He is a WWE Hall of Famer. He's a WWE legend. My take on everything here is Stop moving the fans just because of a reaction that you don't necessarily want or like. What's going on? The fans are going to do what the fans want to do. Look at the Raw after WrestleMania. It is historically a rowdy crowd, and they're going to do what they want to do. You can't just up and move everybody just because of what they look like. Get rid of a sign. Yeah, sure, fine. Don't take a guy out of his seats. Tie-dye guy paid some great money to be in that spot in the front row of the hard cam and should not be forced to move, change clothing, or miss out on a great night of action, albeit Raw, just because you don't want someone chanting Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's a guy that helped build the WWE to where it is today. Let the crowd chant whatever they want. Let the guy wear whatever he wants. That's it. Now, if you've been watching The Crawl during this entire video, you know Anderson Gallows have pitched reforming the Bullet Club with Finn Balor to WWE officials. And we all know Gallows and Anderson have not had the best run to make them look like the badasses that they were over in Japan. But recently on the Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast, they dropped the bomb on everybody that they've pitched to WWE officials that they want to reform the Bullet Club when Finn returns from his injury. During the podcast, Anderson also added, let him come back. Let us reform the original Bullet Club. We'll just tear everything apart. That's one of those pitches we've thrown. We'll see if it sticks. Personally, I think this is going to be a great move. They need to do this. Balor has been a face. He's been the good guy since getting into NXT and was only on the main roster for a very short time before suffering a shoulder injury in his title match with Seth Rollins. But this could really work, right? Finn Balor could come back and tear the house down with Gallows and Anderson, saying nobody but his Bullet Club buddies checked on him while he was out on injury. He's pissed off. He's going to tear everything apart. He's going to be in it with Gallows and Anderson. Those are his true friends. He came in here. He wanted those guys in the WWE, made sure that AJ got in as well. All of that stuff could work. It could be absolutely great. Not only would it be an awesome boost to guys like Gallows and Anderson, who are finally seeming to be going in the right direction in the tag team division, but it's going to give some life to that tag team division on Raw as well, because it doesn't seem to have that upper tier talent that people associate with the SmackDown tag division. You've got the New Day, you've got Sheamus and Cesaro, and everybody else seems to be a floundering mid-card as far as the tag team division goes. They're not seen as the upper echelon of tag division, and they should be, and Finn Balor could help that out big time. And now, end of the show, there's something I want to bring to you guys. At the end, at least once a week, I want to bring to you guys something here on the 411 from the 414. I want to bring you a This Day in Wrestling History. Could show up on Wednesday, it could show up on Friday, it could show up on Sunday, or I might cover something that happened the Thursday, Saturday, but we'll be pretty close. We're going to talk about January 4th. It's a very historic day. Not only does Japan hold their big pay-per-view every year, there's always the big pay-per-view on January 4th. We know that. Just had one. Wrestle Kingdom happened. But this day in history, January 4th, 1999. The Finger Poke of Doom. That's right. Finger Poke of Doom happened 18 years ago today, and it's one of the most talked about segments in WCW history for multiple reasons. One, it's the Finger Poke of Doom. That whole night was nuts. Hulk Hogan returned after being off of television since Halloween Havoc, said he was going to run for president, and then we didn't see him. It wasn't even at Starrcade. Eric Bischoff and Tony Schiavone gave away the results to Raw's main event that was taped a week earlier, and instantly 600,000 people switched the channel to go watch Mick Foley as Cactus Jack defeat The Rock for his first WWF title run ever. Completely backfiring on WCW. Back in the day, Raw was taped. They would have a live show or tape a bunch of shows And that's how they did their Monday Night Raw. It was edited. It was set down to 3 hours. They edited it down. Everything was good. But Nitro was live. And for the most part, what they would do is they would go on. Actually, Raw was 2 hours back in the day. Nitro was 3 hours. They'd be on for an hour. Raw would start after that first hour of Nitro. Nitro would keep going, Raw would go off the air, and Nitro would keep going for another 10 to 15 minutes or so, much like the overrun we get today in the WWE with Raw. We're used to that. It just kept happening. They started it in 99, they kept rolling with it. Now, the main event for that show ended up being Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan. It was supposed to be a rematch of the Starrcade match of Goldberg and Nash. Goldberg and Nash, at that point, Nash won the belt from Goldberg. It was supposed to be a rematch. Goldberg was supposed to come back in, have his rematch with Nash. It didn't happen. Did not happen at all. And a lot of the crowd that came back after switching channels to go see Mick Foley win his belt from The Rock didn't know what happened, because during that hour Goldberg got arrested and taken away. Storyline: Goldberg's arrested, can't compete because he's arrested now, so we got to have a title match anyways. Kevin Nash is here, he's ready to put his belt on the line, so they set up Hulk Hogan, who returned after being gone since Halloween Havoc. Fans were upset. Those people who switched channels and then came back hoping that they were going to get a match with Goldberg and Kevin Nash, one that was starting late and one that even Jerry Lawler kind of poked fun at WCW for saying that all of their main event matches started late in the night. They switched over to see Hulk Hogan standing in the ring with Kevin Nash instead of Goldberg. Fans were upset. They were bait and switched again. Nothing new. They were promised a match at the beginning of the show. Something happens during the show. They get something else at the end of the show. So Hogan and Nash are in the ring. They circle around a little bit. Hogan looks like he's going to punch Kevin Nash and start things off right. Finger pokes Kevin Nash square in the chest. Nash, surprised, falls down to the ground. Hogan pins him. We have a new WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Fans are completely upset. We've got the NWO and the NWO Wolfpack getting back together again. The two factions that were warring with each other. Everybody's buddy-buddy once again. That right there, that one single incident was the start of the end of the Monday Night Wars as we knew it, as Nitro only saw 3 5.0 or more ratings after that finger poke of doom incident. Everything else went downhill. After the summer of 1999, we didn't see anything over a 4.0, and then it just spiraled out of control after that. We all know the history of the Monday Night Wars. Also, 10 years ago today, Natalya was signed into the WWE, and 7 years ago, Bret Hart made his return to the WWE for the first time since the Montreal Screwjob. That is your day in wrestling history for the WWE. Once again, I want to thank everybody who was stuck around through the entire show. The 411 from the 414 will be back again on Friday. If you are so inclined to and want to become one of my patrons, head over to Patreon. The link is in the description of this video down below. You will get early access to every episode of the 411. It's going to be a good time around here. The sun is coming in at a crazy angle and getting in my face. Sorry about that, guys. So until Friday, we'll see you guys later. It's been great bringing this episode to you, and we'll see you on Friday. Peace. I'm out.